Right, and welcome to the second part of my experience with the Assassin's Creed series. In in this video, I will be talking about Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed 4, and Assassin's Creed Rogue, because I feel these games are, well, they are connected by, but Unity's also sprinkled in amongst them once you've played Rogue and you've seen that. But I feel these three, because they contain ships. Now, as Connor, you don't really get to use the ships too much. Like, you ship too much, but, you know, the Morrigan and the Jackdaw, respectively, are, you know, it was a privilege to be able to use them. And then when it returned in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that was like, yes, they brought it back and elevated that game for me. So yes, we will be talking about Assassin's Creed 3, and I will talk as best I can from what I can remember from that game, like at the start playing as Ethan Kenway, and then you play as a young Connor. I'm not going to ever attempt to pronounce his actual other name. To, you know, like Charles Lee, like strangling him and his mum dying in front of him and stuff like that, whilst playing like hide and seek with his friends, and how I think Connor has to eventually kill like his friend. You know, I know they tugged on your heart with that sort of gameplay, and just how enriching that were when you got to meet Achilles and see that story build, but also how annoying it were when you was playing as the Eagle to not hit so many objects. I think you were allowed to crash 3 times for full synchronization, and that was just very annoying. But you know, if you wanted 100% synchronization, you trooped through it. But then obviously we then move on to Black Flag and Edward Kenway, and how at the very end of that you see that Edward Kenway has taken Atham to the opera or theatre, wherever it was, and that was like Atham Kenway's introduction to that. So it connects like the start of Assassin's Creed 3 to like Blackbeard and James the Kid, I think, and stuff like that, and all that conflict and love and everything else there. At the end, his daughter is on the Jackdaw with him, which is quite fun. But I think she's only sent to him because her mother dies. To then move on to Assassin's Creed Rogue, and that game was such a breath of fresh air, because you know, you got to play as Shay Patrick Cormac, and it was like, wow, we actually get to play the other side for once, and just see how that rolls out. And now we're introduced to Ethan Kenway again, so Ethan Kenway is prevalent in all these games. But to also have it connected to Assassin's Creed Rogue, I mean, Unity with Arno at the end, where you see it was Shay who killed his dad, that was so mind-blowing at the time. So I will try and do my best to review all these games.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Right, to start with Assassin's Creed 3, obviously, as you can see by the graphic card that I've got here, obviously on the cover it showed Connor, and I think it was like during the Great American Revolution. And when you start the game, and it's like, alright, we're playing as someone different here. Obviously there's a bit of intrigue there, and you find out it's Ethan Kenway, and you've got to go around the theatre production that's going on and kill your target. And that's quite, you know, that's quite the interesting opening that they have to the game, and then leap a bit further forward, and Atham's recruiting people like Charles and others, and then he rescues Connor's mum, and he can't quite get her name right, so I think she's like just says to him, just call me Zio. The bit on the ship is quite fun when like Atham's figuring out that like they're throwing out stuff as a marker for the enemies to follow, and that confrontation where you fight that crew member on board and stuff like that is very all engaging. And and then like Desmond's freak out when he's like, wait, what? Wait, we're playing as a Templar? That's so wrong. That's so against what we're against. And having at least a bit of conflict with Desmond and William Miles, his dad, where I think Connor's like, well, why don't you just go in there? Why don't you deal with it? And stuff like that. That's quite, like, they knew what they were doing. They made such good games back at that particular time. They knew how to draw you in so very much with their storytelling. I've always said Ubisoft delivers on the story at the very least. So then, like, you re-enter the Animus, I suppose, and then we're introduced to, I believe it's his mum talking first, over like a young Connor, or Ragnaton, or whatever the hell he's called. I said I wouldn't try and pronounce his name, but there you go. And basically, like, you introduced him very young, and and then you get to like do hunts and like play hide and seek, and then like I said, then like Charles Lee, strangles a young Connor, and I think a young Connor asks like, what's his name, and he's like, so I know who I'm hunting when I get older, and stuff like that. But Charles Lee stays his hand, doesn't kill Connor. And then as you make your way back to the village that the tribe are at, Connor's tribe and family, he runs, and it's a blaze, and his mum dies basically in front of him, and that sets the path, that sets the premise to the game. Like, what an opening, what an absolute brilliant opening to the game. I said that's where the cutoff is. So then, like, you skip a little bit further forward, and Connor is told by the old lady of the Shire, I'll stick with saying Shire, little hut village, whatever you want to call it. Forgive me if I'm not, authentically accurate enough, but, I'm trying my best to sort of like review it and talk about it and talk about the pleasure I got from it. Now, there were some instances where like the synchronization again was tedious and was annoying to pull off, but this is the case with all these games when synchronization was a thing. So I'll basically repeat myself a lot if I keep saying that. So she tells him to seek out that symbol. I think he interacts with the artifact left, which we find out later it was Eivor who left it there, which is, quite bizarre, and that's like a Assassin's Creed Valhalla connection. So many games connected to this very, very little universe, it seems. And then, like I said, you then have the bird mission. Whew, that's all. And, well, when you get through that mission, I think you're then told to, yes, you're told to seek out that image, seek out Achilles Davenport, and you get there and kind of like knocks on, and you know, he's basically saying, I've been told to seek you out, you need to train me. Achilles is like, no, go away, you're a little runt, go away, I don't have time for you, I don't want anything to do with you. And Connor's like, well, I'll come back, I'm never leaving. And that continues for a bit. And then eventually Achilles teaches Connor, gives him the training, gives him what he needs to pull off what he needs to do, and lays out the targets that he's going after. And Achilles warns him about, you know, divulging too far in the revenge path, that it could mask his vision so he won't be clear, and that it'll conflict the Creed's tenets. That's what I'll stick with. And that going after his father and going after Charles Lee is very dangerous when it's like so closely connected. Like, it's his dad and it's the person who I guess Connor maybe blames more than his father, but the fact that he strangled him and stuff like that and subdued him, when Connor could have tried to prevent what happened back then, even as a little child. So, you know, then they set to go out on the way after, you know, like, they've done a few little things here or there. And, you know, as the years go on, his best friend from his childhood starts questioning Connor's conduct. Is he now compromised? Are the tribe's traditions not there and things like that? So like I said, that comes to a clash, and you know, it leads to Connor having to kill his friend, which hits the right notes, and you know, you feel like how difficult it is for him. And you know, it's like the mission where you've got to run across the battlefield, I think, without getting shot. That was very tedious, because it's like you have to, even if you kind of know what you're doing, you can still misrun at the wrong time and get shot. And like I said, if you got 100% synchronization, it's what you did. You restarted and restarted and restarted and restarted. There was not a lot to it. But you know, away from that, you had interactions with others, built yourself like a new little village. A woman creates a flag for everyone, stuff like that, and you built extra carts and things like that, so you could make your income. You could, I think you bought, I could be wrong, but I think the armor system still factored in. I could be wrong about that. But the dyeing your clothes and stuff was so good. But again, just such a great game overall, because it's like I said, you had the conflict with Desmond and him being like, well, no, why am I playing as a Templar? That's not our objective here. Our objective is to learn from these ancestors and things like that to better me, so I can stop the Templars in the search for artifacts and whatnot. So, you know what I mean? It's so very good, and just, but when it comes to like hunting and stuff, like, obviously it's like, it was frustrating if you missed, and you also got a notification warning if you didn't skin everything you kill. Like Connor skinned everything, but it's like, I think it was in this one you got the rope down. Once you got the rope down to, you know, like take out your targets. That was basically my new toy. That was basically my new toy. It was so fun. It was so fun to do. I mean, so fun to do. Oh, but again, the developers made these games, and everything felt like it fit perfectly for a Jigsaw piece. Like your weaponry and setting, and Connor being able to use the trees, where Ethan couldn't, and when he's chasing after Connor's mum, he's trudging through the snow and be like, hey wait. Just made it all so fitting that this game was well thought out. And, you know, so when in the end Connor kills his father, I think you just have such mixed feelings about it, because it always seemed like Haytham was so level-headed that he were playing fourth dimensional chess, and that he weren't really evil. It's just he didn't agree with his father and being an assassin, and the alternative was this other faction. So I think this was the first time like it crept in, like, the Templar's not as bad as we think, you know. So the fact that it actually got you to think in such a way like that just talks about the absolute level of writing and voice acting and the story all just being so flawless and great. So very soon you will see a gameplay from Assassin's Creed 3, and I will talk about the game overall. And I've said in a previous video that a game won't get higher than 8 out of 10. So if in the previous iteration of this video in the past, I think I may have scored them 10 out of 10. Well, that could be just like my personal feeling, but for me, I just feel like with all the synchronization and the amount of restarts you have to do and the amount of frustration you got through the parkour and things like that, reduces the score down. But, you know, like when at the end you've got Connor with Charlie in the pub and he kills him and they're both just exhausted, that's probably how you feel as a player, because there's so much to do in that game. But it's such a fitting end, and then to have it where Achilles dies and then you see Connor with the grave at the end, just such full circle storytelling. So now that we're at the gameplay portion of this video, because I didn't have a lot of clips for Assassin's Creed 3, so I kind of thought I'd stick with the title card. Again, like I said, overall brilliant from start to finish. The only thing that kind of hindered the game was synchronization, because some of them are super tedious. I think there's one where you've got to run and stop such a body being attacked. I could be like, I don't want to say Benjamin Church or Benjamin Franklin, but I feel it could be something like that. And that is so frustrating to get to it and prevent it. So I guess like if you restart the memory, you might not have your assassin things here that you've got in the corner to call upon, and you've got limited time. But other than that, like I said, overall the game is just so brilliant. So again, overall rating an 8 out of 10. Story wise, I feel it was another 10 out of 10. Overall gameplay, like I said, I think it fit. But like I said, overall game rating, because of the frustrations of synchronization and that sort of thing, brings the game down to an 8 out of 10. But it's a recommended must play. Definite recommend. replayable. That's why this is obviously from Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster. So Ubisoft delivered another fine installment once again. So we will now move on to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Right, well, we're now on to Assassin's Creed Black Flag 4, or Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and we get to play as Edward this time. There's no side swerve, like with Assassin's Creed 3, where you got to play as from Kenway, but this is the actual father to from Kenway. But you find out that, you know, like, the relationship he had with, I think, Caroline, she dies and his daughter stays over, and I think they've got like a different mother. Edward's daughter and from Kenway. So again, that's a different scenario there. But the game opens up with you playing as Edward Kenway, and you are locked in a battle between yourself and the opposing ship that has an assassin on it. And I think once you damage the ship enough, it then leads to the cutscene where you wash the board, or whatever ship you're on at that point, I guess, gets destroyed. And you take out this assassin, you take out, put on his outfit. I think like the hidden blades are damaged. Maybe you don't have any pistols. Maybe the pistols are damaged. I don't know. But you get. I think you look at the artifact thing that is going to deliver, and reads the note of who the assassin was supposed to meet, and it starts from there. So he takes the moniker of the other name, and he meets this other guy and reveals like, oh, my name is this, which almost blows its cover, but somehow he manages to scrape through enough convincingly. And I think he's gifted a pistol and his hidden blades. So that's kind of the start to the game. And then you take over the Jackdaw, and the progression of upgrading the ship is locked by story missions, basically, like through the DNA sequence sessions, whatever you want to call it. Because if you want to do the shipwrecks where you need a diving bell, you've got to get to a certain progression in the game. If you want to get like elite hulls and like cannons and whatever else, upgrade your Jackdaw to the max. Some of it's locked by story. Like I said, a lot of it's, you know, blocked, stopped, whatever you want to call it, by story progression. So again, it is quite fun and gives you something to work on. As you can see here in this clip, I've got the best armor on in the game, and that's a grind to get to. But again, so then you meet like notorious / well-known pirates, James the Kid, Blackbeard, and it's interesting to see both of these characters die. Like Blackbeard, I think, goes down in a blaze of glory, and I think Chuck's is gone towards Edward to save Edward, which now he went down being very noble, and you can see there's a togetherness between pirates, that although Edward was like learning the ways of the assassins, Like, he still stayed true to being a pirate and had loyalty amongst his companions. And you find out that James the kid is actually a woman, and did what she needed to do to become a pirate, because I think female pirates was shunned upon, and that's why she had to hide her identity and things like that. So that's an interesting story arc there in itself. But I think in this game, this is the one game removed from Desmond. Desmond's not in this game. You just I think there's like a real world story to it, but it's just like first person, because I think they're focusing more on the sage in this one, and that mystery to the game. So that's kind of why they just kept it first person, I suppose. But again, like, to fight higher ships, you need to like upgrade your ship and things like that, to send them to your crew to do higher missions and things like that. And obviously you need to upgrade your ship for when you take on the legendary ships, which I think I still have to do on Assassin's Creed for myself. I think I've still got the legendary ships to do to get 100% synchronization, but I think I just gave a pause on the game for that. But again, like I said, you introduce like Caroline and that story, and then like I said, at the very end of the game, you are introduced to his daughter, and at the end it shows his daughter on the jackdaw with Edward Kenway, and then the final cutscene we get, like, it shows this guy trying to ask for Edward's daughter's hand, but she gets upset because he calls her a Kenway, and she doesn't take her father's name, she takes her mother's last name. And when the guy apologises, Edward's like, I forgive you, but I don't think my daughter will forgive you so easily. And then we're introduced to from Kenway, who's like, hey father, I can't see the player. And then like Edward lifts him up on his arms, and he's like, I'll hold you up all night. And then like Ephraim is like, but what if your arms tire out? And I think he says something like, hey, I'm not that old yet. And that's where it cuts off, and then you get the trophy, which obviously back then, this is like, I think, a remaster in a way, this one. I think this was like the PS4 release, I think. So obviously, I knew it was coming this time, but back then it was like, did you see that coming? And I think that were because of the Ezio trilogy and that series of games, and you know, people weren't too sure whether Assassin's Creed 4 were going to get extra games, you know, because let's say 3 was just like a merger between 2 and 4. By that having, you know, with like Dart being like, wait, Edward Kenway, he must be from Kenway's dad, you know, and you've got that introduction in Assassin's Creed 3, and in talking about it, it's like, oh, they're going to continue the story, and then we're introduced to from Kenway, and then we're going to get a game based on from Kenway, you know, so we're going to be another subtler trilogy of games. But instead, they did that to sort of go, no, we're not going down that. No, we're not going down that angle. but it got, it garnered attention and and was really good. So in this game, the ship battles were always engaging. In the top left, where you can see where the flag is in the corner, where you can see I think 2 swords together filling up red. That's for bounty hunters if you commit too many sins, atrocities, illegal actions. You got bounty hunters after you. I can't remember if it goes after 3 or 4. I know there's a trophy based on it, but so you have to be careful with your battles. And in this game, which is what they introduced, I think, in the RPG element of the games, where it showed a skull, it showed you could look at the enemy ship and it would show green for oh, you should easily smoke this person, white for if they're about level with your ship's progress at that point, and if it was red, it'd be well, you may struggle against this one, you may need to upgrade your ship or be very crafty with how you take on the ship in a way that it's at your leisure whether you take on that ship or not. So that was very engaging, always fun. And then in the captain's cabin, you could also upgrade, or at an harbour, you could upgrade your harpooning, your ship and things like that for durability and stuff like that, and harpoon amounts, so that you could try and take on the different sea life targets, if you will. I was trying to think of another name for it, but I can't really think of one. So that was fun. And then the legendary ships were quite the challenge, and I think back when I originally played this on which would have been the PlayStation 3, I beat all 4. It probably took multiple retries to defeat them, but I managed to do it. Now I hope I get this before that wave takes that ship out. That was a race, a little race there. But the satisfaction you get when you get ships to this point, where you can board them and take them over and send them to your fleet or repair your jackdaw, whatever it is you want to do with it, was so good, because it's well, obviously you knew what you were doing, but again, the developers, here I've got 3 pistols. I may not use them, but I think yes, triangles to use. And if I were trying to get a combo going, I could attack that guy and then shoot, and hopefully take out 3 other people. And I think it went up to 5. But the interruptions you get, like that guy hitting me, always annoyed, because your health was while she was in combat, which is sort of, I think, took away from the early games where you could press left on your D-pad to heal yourself. I don't remember it being a thing in this game. Now I can't remember in Assassin's Creed 3 that were a thing, but you had to sort of not be in combat to regenerate your health, and it regenerated really slow. So seeing this here now, we must be getting to the end of this video. So again, another just brilliant game. And like I said, other than perhaps some synchronization bits here or there, another fine story, give you enough to do, outside world story engaging enough. So again, Assassin's Creed 4 gets a very, very easy high score of 8 out of 10, and I recommend to play from me. Chasing Shanty pages is the one bad thing, but that's about it really. Right, well, I guess there's like one slight negative that I can also think of, and I think it's in this game. You have to take out these, I guess, like natives, and you also have to do it unarmed. And like there's one where it's like take about 5 out from hiding spots, but they keep moving like it's programmed by the developers to make it just as hard as possible. I was rating so hard at that point, but other than that, a good game overall.
Yeah, but who's that on DVD?
Right, so now we move on to Assassin's Creed Rogue and the story of Shay Patrick Cormac. And you know, it starts off where you're tailing someone and you know it asks you to like, air assassinate them, which is quite fitting because the very last thing you do in this game really before you get to this kind of like hidden final mission where it's like later in his life is you take out his friend via air assassination, and the stipulation is to not get shot by him. But you know, Shay goes against like the master at the time's like thing, and that becomes like, you know, they try and make it seem like it's problematic and stuff, but you know, I introduced each character, and the mission in like I think it's Lisbon is just so very memorable because you reach the artifact that they're after, and to see like the place collapse and stuff. Now if that happened in real life, sure, shucks, then that would have been terrible at the time, but yeah, that is just such a memorable mission. And obviously like your ship's to Morrigan and you get her back later, but you know, Shay after the incident goes back and confronts Achilles, but I think it's just his manners and his manner of how he does it, being like, tell me you didn't know, so many lives lost, this is the opposite of what we do, and like, you know, they feel like he's questioning like Achilles' leadership and whatever else, and you know, he's like, I have to take this book away, I have to prevent another disaster, you know, so he's like defected from the Brotherhood, and you know, I think he gets shot in the back, and that is quite the opening because it's like, wow, bloody hell. You know, after that mission where it's like, whoo, bloody hell, that was a good mission, but there was so much damage and calamity and chaos and stuff like that. But in this game, I don't think I've been able to take out every legendary ship, because there's one where there's 2, but they don't show up at the same time. One comes in first, you take that one out, and then another one comes in. That annoyed me so much, that felt like the biggest up yours from the game developers. But in this game, it got notoriously a bad rep of just being like a clone of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, whether for the most part it does sort of play that way, like how the ship's controlled and things like that, it is so not true, because the arsenal you have, like your weaponry and things like that, is so different. The guns you've got, like, it is so different. It's like here I'm wearing I think I'm wearing Arno's outfit from Assassin's Creed Unity. But because this is like a remaster, Assassin's Creed Rogue remaster, because I missed out on Assassin's Creed Rogue because me and my friend went to next gen. But we went Xbox route to begin with. So I missed out on it. But I got to also play... I think I missed out on Unity as well, I think. But that's not over there. But again, like here, being able to fire a sleep dart at this guard and stuff, or like berserk darts and whatever else, is just so good, because it's like it gives you such versatility and stuff. And I know there's a clip where I talk about like what we had to do in order to get the shanty pages in another video, because chasing after them was just so annoying, because it's like if the shanty page got a good head start on you, which kind of sounds daft, yeah, cut for that. It was almost like you were never catching it, and that became just so annoying. And then when the parkour was just so hit and miss, or at least for me it was hit and miss, because you had to like R2 and like hold X to run, and then you'd be running, you'd be trying to navigate across the building, but then your character jump to the left instead of following forward, or running across a beam to, you know, try and, you know, catch up with the actual shanty page. We had to like try and think of like, right, where does the shanty page start? Right, let's see if I can sort of stop there and hope it floats back in and I get it that way, because that just grinded the game to a halt. If you wanted 100% completion and you were like working on like trophies and trying to do everything in the game that the game had to offer. But other than that, the game is fine. But again, like, Shay Cormac doesn't really, he only goes the other option, again like I said with Haytham Kenway, the only other option is the Templar Order to stop the assassins. So he aligns himself as a means to an end, because he says I make my own luck, so he doesn't really have too many abilities realistically. It's just that's the only other option, and the closest way to stop the Templars, not a Templar, use the Templars to stop the assassins in what they're doing. So that's how, again, we meet Haytham Kenway and Charles Lee and these other people. But again, it's just a means to an end, and then in the end, Shay actually stops Haytham Kenway killing Achilles Davenport, being like, let's just show him mercy, he knows what's gone wrong today. So he gets shot in the leg, which is like why that's why Achilles has that limp and stuff like that, and I guess the name is quite fitting, Achilles. But again here, this is the very end of the game, where this, when I initially played it, just absolutely blew my mind, and I mean absolutely blew my mind. Because the second I saw Arno and his dad there, fangirl moment, oh my god, there's so many games connected within these games, Assassin's Creed 3, 4, you know, and I'd played Unity before I played Rogue, because like I said, me and my friend went next gen and it was Unity on next gen, not Rogue, so I missed out on Rogue. So I got to play this game last in terms of like the pecking order of games, but I was just so happy at the same time about that, because if I'd have played this one, then Unity, I don't think it would have hit the same. So I got the best of both worlds. So to see this part and actually see who killed Arno's father, was just so mind-blowing. And when Patrick Cormack's walking away at the end, and saying he's I guess that he does say he's a Templar, or like that's his story and stuff like that. Just again elevate the game to where like all the stress, all the rage, if the synchronization cause you to restart a lot of times and stuff like that. Sort of just this last mission sort of just made it so worthwhile. And you know, story wise it's like yep, gets a 10, but then like I said, stuff like synchronization or things that made me rage sort of like counteract that and brings the game down to an 8 out of 10. But all these games, I say it to this day, Assassin's Creed 2007 game still looks amazing. All these games have aged beautifully. There's not a bad looking Assassin's Creed game, I don't care. But yes, maybe from like if you compare the games side by side, like maybe some of the textures are better, maybe the shrubbery, the grass and whatever else is better, like density and lighting and whatever else. But other than that, look at this game is not a bad looking game. You cannot say this game looks horrible at all. I know it's been touched up a little bit, but still it's like it's only been touched up a little from what it was. So again, there's never been a bad looking Assassin's Creed game. So again, like ship wise, it's kind of about the same. Like you have your battles, you've got your harpooning, things like that. So that's why I've kind of not really spoke about them too much. But like I said, when you get to this part of the game and it sits with you how many games are actually connected, it's like bloody hell. If you've had the pleasure of playing all the games, this just feels so super rewarding. Just feels like you've worked for it. That this is the reward. This is like the gold at the end of the rainbow. This is like a long-awaited meal that's been cooking all day, and it hits the spot. So again, like I said, this is like my personal experience of all of these games, and yes, I'm going to be super biased because I love this franchise. I have enjoyed this franchise as like love-hate equally. There's gripes, I guess, with every game that I could pick out, but like I said, the thing with Assassin's Creed, the original one, is I like the simplicity about it. That if you touch water, which became sort of like an easy cop-out in later games, to escape conflict, it caused desynchronization, and that hindered what you could do, doing all like air assassinations and things like that. It made it more purposeful and more enjoyable in a way that these things hindered you that way, because it made it more of a challenge and made you have to think a bit more. But again, overall, an 8 out of 10. So again, thanks for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's part 2. I don't know when I'll do part 3, but I will do it at some point, so enjoy the rest of the video. Right, so just a brief recording before we let the video reach the outro portion of this video, because this is pretty much the end of the video now. When I get round to doing part 3, which I won't take too long to do it, I don't know when I'll do it, but I'm going to try not to take too long to do it and not get too like caught up on my games and things like that. But you know, I kind of also want to make sure I give myself enough time to sort of like think about what I'm going to talk about and things like that. I know, again, it's like my personal experience with these games, and maybe there's things I don't talk about or what that maybe in-depth review videos talk about. But again, it's what I want to talk about. It's my preference. It's what I took from the games. But enough jibber jabber. I think the two games that I will talk about, because they're both like connected as like the end of like the Assassin's Creed series before they reach the RPG stage of things, is Assassin's Creed Unity and Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So now onto the outro of this video.
Run! Run, Hobbit! Run, you moron! Move, bastard!
Get wrecked! Oh!
Unlucky.
Right, shut up. It's me, John Slomus.
I had to do it. Don't do it!
Oh shit. No! I should be fine. I should be fine.
Yeet. Don't do it, dog, please. Please forget the kids. Yeet. Please don't need the tiger, forget the kids. Oh shit.
Get wrecked!